Okay, good afternoon, everyone. For today, first we're going to discuss the answer for tutorial chapter 9. And after that, I'm going to start a new chapter. Again, new chapter is chapter 10. It's about how to get in the financing, okay, or funding. Okay, that is chapter 10. So yesterday I did send some messages for your informations for this paper. You're going to have final online assignment, meaning that you're going to have your individual assignments and your assignment questions going to release on 13 April. Okay, 13 April, 9 a.m. and due on 14th April, 6 p.m. Okay, so let's start with the tutorial discussions. This one is chapter 10, and if according to the information from the UCSI lecture, she will cover chapter 10 in your final. Okay, she will cover chapter 10. So today we're going to start chapter 10. But before that, let's start discussions for the chapter first, tutorial chapter 9. So question number 1, what is a new venture team? So a new ventures team is the group of founders, key employee, and advisor that move a new ventures from an idea to a fully functioning firm. Okay, I highlighted keywords here. Okay, so who are the primary participants in a new startup? In a startup's new ventures team. Okay, so this one, if you have the ebook, okay, I give you the ebook, right? I gave you the ebook. You can refer to the figures 9.1 in the ebooks. Okay, so the participants they include the management teams, key employee, BOD, okay, board of advisor, lenders, and investor. Okay, all of these are the primary participations. Okay, number 3, what is liability of newness? Liability of newness is the concept that refers to the fact that start off often falter because the people who start the firms can, and because the firms lack of track records with outside buyer and supplier. Okay, so it's become a liability for a new business. Okay, and it's also one of the challenges for the new businesses. And number 4, the new ventures started by a team have an advantage over new ventures started by a sole entrepreneur. Okay, or it's the opposite case. Okay, so for this one, okay, you can answer the team have the advantage, or you also can give the answer so entrepreneur have the advantage. Okay, but you need to do the elaboration. You need to justify your answer. So here my answer here is generally believed that new ventures started by a team have an advantage over those started by an individual because the teams they will bring more talents, resources, ideas, and professionals contact to a new ventures than does a sole entrepreneur. So in addition, the psychological support the co-founder of a new business can offer one of these an important elements in the firm's success. And questions number 5, the differences between heterogeneous and also the homogeneous funding team. So the member of the heterogeneous funding teams are diverse in terms of their ability and experience. Okay, they have different backgrounds. For example, some of them it comes from different educations, okay, different education. Some of them from the degree of marketing, some of them from degree of accounting, okay, and the experience also diverse. And for the members of the homogeneous funding team, means they have similar ability and experience. Means that, for example, if member A come from the accounting background, same goes to member B, same goes to member C. Okay, they have same skill, they have same knowledge, same experience. So that's what we call it as the homogeneous. Heterogeneous is different. Okay, they have different skill, different experience, different abilities. Questions number 6. What are the attributes of a firm founders that typically lead to its success? So there are two kinds of attributes that contributes to the livelihood of success. Okay, the first is the education level. Okay, for example, soft skill, foresight, creativity, computer skill. Okay, and second is the experience. Okay, experience in the industry. Okay, the more experience that the people have, the wider the network is that they have. Okay, so these two are the two attributes that contribute to successful of a new ventures. And questions number 7, what are the desired attribute of good board members? Okay, so here are the list. Okay, but you can have the different answer from here. Okay, so strong personal and professional networks, respected in their field, willingness to make the personal introductions on behalf of the firms, strong interpersonal communication skill, pattern recognition skills, investments, okay, and or operating experience, ability and willingness to mentor the CEO and the top managers of the companies. And questions number 8, how do lenders and investors add value to an entrepreneur ventures? Yeah. So all of these are what they can do, okay? What they can do to help the new ventures. First, they can help to identify and recruit the key management personnel. For example, if you want to open a restaurant, okay, maybe the investor can recommend to you, okay, who are the best chef, who are the best managers, okay, who are the best baker in the industry, okay, they can help you, they can recommend them to you. Then providing insight into the industry and market in which the venture intends to participate, okay, they can tell you what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, okay, what are the drawbacks in the industry. They can inform you of these things. Then helping the ventures fine-tune its business model, serving as a sounding board for the new ideas, providing introductions to additional sources of capitals, recruiting customers, helping to arrange business partnerships, serving on the ventures board of directors or board of advisors, and also providing a sense of calm amid the emotional confusions that many new ventures teams experience. And questions number 9, the different way the advisory boards meets and conducts their businesses. Okay, what are the way that they can use? Okay, for example, they meet 3 to 4 times a year. They can meet at the companies, or they also can meet in an online environment. Okay, I highlight few keywords here. Okay. So in some cases, a firm board of advisors are scattered across the country, so making it more cost effective for a firm managers to interact with the member of the board on the telephones or via email. Okay, they can use all of these channels, okay, to communicate with the board of advisors. So in these situations, board members don't interact with one another at all on a face-to-face basis, but still they can provide a high level of counsel and also advice. And questions number 10, in what way do lender and investor lend legitimacy to firms? Okay. So, like board members, lenders and investors lend legitimacy to firms when they agree to become involved. Okay, when they agree to become involved. So again, think about the positive boost that would be created about a firm if it announced that a prominent venture capital firms have decided to offer it funding. Okay. So end of the tutorial for chapter 9. So for this chapter 9, I already allotted it at Google Classroom. Okay, tutorial 9 answer here. So you can get the answer from here. Okay, you can download the answer from here. Okay, we have now with chapter 9. So I think let's start new chapter. Okay, chapter 10. Getting financing or funding. Okay, this chapter will be tested in your final. So you need to pay attention to this chapter 10. Okay, chapter 10, getting financing or funding. There are 7 learning objectives. Okay, first, the importance of financing for entrepreneurial success. Then, why most entrepreneur ventures need to raise money during their early life. Identify and describes the 3 sources of personal financing available to entrepreneurs. Okay, this I need to pay attention. 3 sources. Identify and explain the 3 steps involved in properly preparing to raise the debt or equity financing. These 3 steps. Explain the 3 most important sources of equity funding. Okay. Source of equity funding you need to know. And then describe common source of debt financing and describe several creative sources of financing entrepreneur firm may choose to use. Okay, so we start with the first learning objective, the importance of getting financing or funding. Okay. So the nature of the funding and financing process. Few people deal with the process of raising investment capitals until they need to raise capital for their own firm. So as a result here, many entrepreneurs they will go about the task of raising capitals hesitantly because they lack experience in this area. Okay, they need to know what are the sources, where to get the money, what kind of channel that they can use. They need to know all of this. They need to have all of this knowledge. Okay, so why most of the new ventures need funding? As we know that for the new venture, there are new business that haven't earned any profit yet, right? They just want to start it. Okay, so why they need the funding? Okay, so there are 3 reasons. Here are the 3 reasons, why the start they need the funding. First, for the cash flow. They use it for the cash flow challenges. For example, they use the funds to buy the inventory, and then to train the new employee, to pay the salary, for the first few months, of the employee, and also to make some advertisements so that people are aware about the existing or the firm, existing or the business, So all of this, they need the cash, so the cash flow changes. The second reasons why the new venture needs the funding is because of the capital investment. Capital investments means the cost of buying the real estate, the buildings that they use, the facility, the equipment that they use in the office. All of this exceed a firm ability to provide the funds for these needs on its own. We know that for the capital investment, buying all of these things is required a huge amounts of money. Okay, it's not just say few thousands you able to buy the building. No, right? To buy a building, you need maybe up to millions. So that's why new ventures they need to funding because all of these are very expensive. Then the third reason is the lengthy product development cycle. So some products are under development for years before they generate the earning. Okay, you know about the product development cycle, right? Okay, in the for example, okay, it typically takes between 2 to 4 years to develop an electronic scam. So in the pre-Christian's draft industry, so the path from the research lab to the patient's bag, okay, sometimes it takes an average of 10 years, okay. So to meet this challenge, the others they will describe we will describe the others in this chapter later on, okay. So these are the three reasons why the papers they need the funding. Okay, remember cash flow challenges, the need for the capital investment, and then need to it to the lengthy product development cycles. So where you can get a funding, where you can get all of the capitals. Okay, so here are the alternative for raising money for a new venture. Okay, here we have four alternatives: personal funds, debt financing, equity capitals, and also creative source. So we start with the personal fund. Okay, personal fund is the own pocket money. Okay, from your saving. Okay, this is personal fund. So the vast majority of founders contribute personal funds along with the sweat equity to their ventures. So sweat equity is represents the value of the times and efforts that a founder puts into a new ventures. Okay, the time that they spend, the effort that they give. Okay, to the effort that they puts into the new businesses. This is a sweat equity. Then they also can borrow, okay, borrow from friends and family. Okay, these are the second source of funds for many new businesses. Then bootstrapping, okay, this is the third source of seed money for a new venture. Okay, we refer it as the bootstrapping. So bootstrapping is finding ways to avoid the need for external financing or funding through creativity, ingenuity, cheerfulness, okay, cost cutting, or any means necessary. Okay, so many entrepreneurs they will try to bootstrap out of the necessities. So some of the common examples, okay, of the bootstrapping methods we can see it for this slide. For example, they buy the pre-loved one, the second-hand one instead of buying the new equipment. Here they already can cut costs, right? And then they coordinate the purchase with other business. For example, you supply me with the raw material, okay? In return, I will give you this, I will give you that when my business started. Okay, so they negotiate with the others businesses. Then list equipments rather than buying, obtains payments in advance from the customer, okay, so that they will have the rollover fund and minimize the personal expenses, avoid unnecessary expenses. For example, the levies office space or finishers. Maybe for the office space, they just get the basic necessities for the basic equipments. Okay, for the office. Okay, so some unnecessary expenses, try to avoid it. Okay, and then they can buy items cheaply. Okay, for examples, maybe they don't buy it directly from the shop. They don't walk into the shop. Maybe they buy it from online. Okay, or they buy it during auctions. Okay, for example, from the eBay. Okay, if we know the eBay is one of the auctions platform. Okay, and there we can get the item at a much cheaper price. Okay, rather than paying the full prices, here we can buy the item with cheaper price. Then share office space or employ with other businesses or hire the interns. They hire the interns. We know that for the interns, some of the company they pay the allowance for the interns, but some of the companies okay they are not paying any allowance for the interns. Okay, so Here they can cut the cost in terms of the salary expenses. Then preparing to raise debt or equity financing. 3 steps. Okay, step number 1 determines precisely how much money, okay, is needed. Here you need to make some analysis, okay. You need to construct and analyze documented cash flow statements and also projections for the needed capital expenditures, okay. So the information is already in the business plan. Same goes to the assignments that you did, okay. And there you already made the cash flow, okay, and you already know, you already estimate how much capital, how much money that you need when you want to start the new businesses. This is the first step. Second step, determines the most appropriate type of financing or funding. We know there's different type of financing or funding. They have the benefit, they have their own drawback as well. Okay, so equity and debt financing here, there are two most common alternatives. Okay, first is the equity funding. Second is the debt financing. Okay, equity funding here is means exchanging partial ownership in the firm, usually in the form of stock or funding. Okay, for example, the investment, I will give you the capitals. Okay, but in returns, you need to give me this stock. Okay, there is chance it with the stock. And the second type, debt financing. This is also common. For example, you get the loan from the bank. Okay, you get the loan from the bank. So for this, the type of the banks that normally give the debt financing, for example, if in our country here we have some package that the government prepare, okay, that helps the new entrepreneurships. Okay, in where they can get the loan from the banks, but the interest is lower. Interest is lower, okay, because it is subsidized by the government. Okay, so in general, for this one, the banks, they will lend the money, but the entrepreneurs, they must pay it with interest. Okay, so here we cannot say bank are the investor. Bank is not the investor. They are not the investor. Okay, the banks, they are interested in minimize the risk. Okay, so sometimes they will require some collaterals from you. Okay, as a guarantees. So here are the two types. Okay, of course they have their own benefit, they have their own drawback. For example, here the drawback, you need to pay for the extra interest, right? The high interest to the bank. And then step number 3 is develop a strategy for engaging potential investors or banker. Okay. So what are the strategy? The first strategy, the elevator space. Okay, elevator space. This one is the same like the video presentations that you did, the assignments. Okay, you use as presentations, a very short presentations to introduce about your businesses. Okay, so this is important because the investor, they will get the first impressions from the elevator space that you prepare, from the video that you prepare. Okay, if they're interested, then only they will ask the full business plan from you. If they are not interested with your video presentations, then the chances it will end there. Okay, there is no chance anymore for you. Okay, so this is why the elevator space is very important. So how to prepare to raise debts or equity financing? Okay, so this table is 10.2. It shows about the matching and entrepreneur venture characteristic with appropriate form of financial funding. Okay, so example, the business that has the high risk. Okay, high risk with uncertain returns. Okay, the characteristic is means that the business have a very weak cash flow, high leverage, low to moderate growth, and unproven management. Okay, so the most appropriate source. Okay, you can use personal funds, friends, families, and other forms of bootstrapping. Okay, because for this high risk business, if you go for the debt financing, it is more likely that your loans will not get approval. Okay, because for the business has high risk, the bank also scared to give you the loans. Okay, because you have some uncertainty return, you have a very weak cash flow. It same goes not to the individual, it same goes to the individual loan. For example, if you want to buy car, okay, you go to the bank, you apply for the higher purchase. If the bank ask for your financial statement, they will ask for your bank statement. If from there they see the cash flow, the money in and out from your bank account every month is very weak, okay, the chances for your loans to get approved also very low. Okay, so that's why for the higher business, it's better to go for this source, the funds, friends, families. And then for the business has low risk and more predictable returns, okay, the strong cash flow, low leverage, audited financials, good management, healthy balance sheets. This one you can go for debt financing. Okay, because based on all of these criteria, is most likely we can see that this business has the potential to be success. This business has the potential to earn the profit in the futures. Okay, so this one you can go for the debt financing. If for the business they offer a high returns, okay, for example, unique business idea, high growth, niche market, and proven management, this one you can use equity. Okay, use equity. So preparing an elevator space, okay, why we need to prepare this video, this elevator space. Okay, the elevator space is a brief, carefully constructed statements that outlines the merit of a business opportunities. Okay, and there are many occasions when a carefully constructed elevator space may come in handy, and mostly these elevator space are around 60 seconds long, meaning there is around 1 minute only for the elevator space. Okay, so during this 1 minute, you inform the investor, you inform the potential clients about this business, you inform them about the existing of your business and what are the wow factor that you have in that business within 1 minute times. Okay. So if during within these 60 seconds, okay, you're able to attract the investor, so that means you will be able, you have high chances to get the capital from the investor. If during this 60 seconds you fail to impress them with your elevator space, so that means there is no chances for you to get the fund from the investor. So here are the guidelines for you to prepare an elevator space. Okay, for example, step 1, you can describe the opportunities or problems that need to be solved. 20 seconds. Okay, that's why if some of you you have asked me how to do a video, I have advised you that start with the problem. After you start with the problems, then you introduce about your businesses. Okay, that means your business is the solutions for the problem. Okay, so step 2, describe how your product meets the opportunity or solve the problem. Spend 20 seconds here. And step number 3, describe about your qualifications. Okay, the ones that you put in your resume. What is your experience? Okay, the strength of your venture team. Okay, describe it here. Spend 10 seconds and describes your market. Spend another 10 seconds, so make it 60 seconds, 1 minute. Okay, this is the guideline. So source of the equity funding. For equity funding, we have business angels, venture capitalists, and IPO. Okay, we look at this one by one. Start with the business angels. Who are the business angels? the individual who invest their personal capital directly in the startup. Okay? For example, the pensioner. We know that for the pensioners, they have money. Okay, the pensioner they are all peoples. Okay, they have money. Okay, and well educated. Okay, so these kinds of peoples, okay, the prototypical business angels, they are about around 50 years old, they have income, they have their own wealth, they are well educated, okay, they succeeded as an entrepreneur and invest in companies that are in the regions where he or she lives. So generally, for this angel investor, they will invest between $10,000 and $500,000 in a single company, and are looking for companies that have the potential to grow 30 to 40% per year because they are acquired or go public. And many wellness companies, okay, including Apple's and Google's, they receive the initial investment from one or more angel investors. So if in the US country, okay, the number of the angel investor is estimated to be around 304,900. Okay, so this amount has increased dramatically over the past decades. And what motivates the angel investor is that they enjoy the process of mentoring a new startup. So most angel investors, they will remain fairly anonymous, okay, and are matched up with entrepreneur via referral. So to find a business angel, an entrepreneur they should discreetly walk his or her network of acquaintances to see if anyone can make an appropriate introduction. So that's why it's very important for you to have a very wide networking. Okay, you know a lot of people. Maybe these people they can introduce to you, they can refer you to the angel investor. Okay, so an advantage that the college students have in regards to finding business angel is that many just college or university sponsor business plan or business model competitions. So there are organized group of the business angels. Okay, so this group typically consists of 10 to 150 angel investors in a local area. They meet regularly to listen to the business plan presentations. If, for example, Central Texas Angel Networking, that located in Austin, and then it is a relatively very large angel groups. Okay, in these groups, they have 165 angel investors that are experts in different sectors. So the process the network follow to vet investment opportunity is explained on its website. So second way, you can use the ventures capital. Okay, ventures capitals are is the money that is invested by venture capital firm in startup and small businesses with exceptional growth potentials. So what are the difference between the angel investor and the venture capital firm is that angel that tends to invest earlier in the life of a company means that when the company just started or want to start, okay, they start to invest. But for the venture capitalists, they will invest after the companies start, okay, after the companies start their business. So the majority of the venture capital money goes to follow on funding for businesses that were originally funded by the angel investor, the government's program, or by some other means. So venture capital firms are limited partnership or money manager who raise money in funds to invest in startup and growing firm. So the funds or pool of money are raised from high net worth individual, pensions plan, university endowments, foreign investor, and similar source. So the investor who invest in venture capital funds are called limited partners. The venture capitalists are called general partner. So because in the past, venture capitalists have funded high-profile success such as Google's, Facebook, Snap, and Twitter's, the industry received a great deal of attention. Okay, in fact, here the venture capitalists they fund less than 1% of new firms. And many entrepreneurs become discouraged when they are repeatedly rejected for the venture capital funding, even though they may have an excellent business plan. Okay, because the venture capitalists are looking for the home run. Okay, the result is that they do not fund the majority of the business plans they receive and review. So still, for firms that qualify, venture capital is a viable alternative to equity funding. So an advantage to obtaining this funding is that venture capitalists are extremely well connected in the business world and can offer a firm's considerable assistance beyond the funding. An important part of obtaining venture capital's funding is going through the due diligence process. Okay? So this due diligence process is referring to the process of investigating the merits of a potential ventures and verifying the key claims made in the business plans. Okay, the firms that uh, prove to be suitable for the ventures capital funding, they should conduct their own due diligence to make sure they end up with a ventures capital firm that is a good fit. So here are the list of the questions they need to ask before they accept fund from a particular ventures capital firm. Okay? First, do the ventures capitalists have experience in our industry? Do they take a highly active or passive management role? Are the personality on both sides of the table compatible? Okay. Does the firm have deep enough pockets or sufficient contact within the ventures capital industry to provide follow-on rounds of financing? Is the firm's negotiating in good faith in regards to the percentage of our firms that wants in exchange for their investments? Okay, so you need to ask all of these questions because the firms that receive the venture capital funding does not mean that it will be successful in the future. So the ventures funded firms, they are under extreme pressure, okay, to perform in order to meet the investor expectations. So this is one of the drawback, okay, of the venture capital. Let's say in your final questions, okay, final individual questions later on, if they ask you, is the venture capital suitable for the new businesses?